Welcome back to Stupidiots. My name is Jesse. This is Whitney.
Hey.
And last week, my streak came to an end as Whitney picked up a W on our favorite actresses as our topic. And she picked our favorite, if I'm not mistaken, Greek gods and goddesses.
Yes.
Okay. And this is as disclosed last week, this is a topic she's a lot more knowledgeable about than I am. I used to be super into it when I was like in late elementary school, early middle school. I had a lot of mythology books, and specifically for Greek mythology, but I've since forgotten most of it. Uh, but there's a little, I had like a tiny bit I remember. I don't know how much of it is common knowledge versus just what I remember. Um, and some of it could be completely wrong that I remember. But yeah. So, do we want to go ahead and list our topics beforehand on this one as well? Do you have one picked out for next week yet?
Give me 2 seconds and let me think of one. You go ahead and say yours first, and I'll think of
Okay.
one.
My topic for next week, if I win, is going to be the same one I said last week, where we pick or we do our top 10 favorite holidays. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Just because there are some holidays that I am super into, and they've been on my mind a lot recently. So I thought that'd be a fun episode to do while I've got it on mind. But who knows? This could be the beginning of Whitney's streak of victories. I might be trying to do that as long as she's been trying to do this one.
I know, really. That's a good thing. I think I kind of want to keep it with like the Greek mythology type route right now. I think because I want to know. Interestingly enough, I want to know what your favorite myths are, specifically like your top 10 favorite myths. It could be like anyone in Greek mythology. It could be like Hercules or like
There's mythical characters
just
that
like top 10.
aren't gods.
No, just like this.
Right.
No, yeah, well, gods. Like it can involve the gods. It doesn't matter.
Or do you
The
mean like
legend of Hercules
stories?
is like, yeah, like the specific stories. So, like the story of Hades capturing Persephone, and or Hera cursing Hercules or something like that.
Hey, I actually know those two. I was gonna say we'll see if I can name 10, but I know those two. But we'll see. We'll see what happens once we get to the end of this episode. Okay. Oh crap! I call the coin toss this time. I'm gonna call heads. Alexa, flip a coin.
Okay, flipping. It's heads.
All right. Well, this is a topic you're more. Excuse me on that voice crack. Jesus. A topic you're more knowledgeable about than me, so I feel like yours will have a lot more interesting reasons and explanations for our listening. So I think you should guess mine first. So we should end off with yours.
Okay. I will go ahead and say, I already told Jesse this. There are there are a few that on here that are legit just there because I like their name or what they're the god of. Literally has nothing to do if I know about their legends or not.
That's what pretty much all of mine are.
Not,
So that's
not
okay.
a lot of people. Yeah, it's not a lot of people, but like there's a few. So I'm not completely knowledgeable. I just know a little bit about it. But with saying that, I'm gonna go ahead and guess your number 10.
Okay.
And for your number 10, I put Apollo.
That is incorrect. For my number 10, I did. Gosh, I cannot stop looking. I can't stop voice cracking. But no, my number 10 was Hera. And Hera is my number 10 because I needed to get the list of 10. And if I recall correctly, she's the Alabama wife to Zeus.
The Alabama wife to
Yeah,
Zeus.
is she also like?
Zeus.
Isn't she like his sister as well, or something?
Yes.
That was what I meant by Alabama wife.
Okay, so in Greek mythology, well, actually, it's not even just in Greek mythology. In history, dating back all the way to like the Greek gods and everything, even to like kings and queens back in that time period, Egyptians, everything. It was believed that kings and queens and Egyptians and Greek gods and goddesses, they were all gods, right? So to keep their bloodlines pure, they would marry their brothers and sisters.
That part I did not know. I just remember
weird,
specifically
but...
for her. Maybe because maybe it's because it was to Zeus, the Greek god, sort of the
Yeah.
He sort of
It's
is to
not,
gods what
it's
Superman
not,
is to superheroes. Just the
yeah, it's not
quintessential
just
guy.
Zeus, but like a lot of like rulers back then, like
That's probably why I remember
gods
it
and
at
stuff.
least. It's because it was to Zeus.
Like for example, Cleopatra, she married both her brothers. Actually, she married her older brother and her younger brother. So it was just like it was a big thing back then. So like you'll see throughout history, you'll see a lot of like brothers and sisters actually getting married. But it did start like way back when in like Greek mythology and like Roman mythology and things like that.
Well, for my number 10 guess for you, I put Artemis.
Incorrect. No, so my number 10 is actually Alios, sorry. The Greek god of the wind and air.
Oh yeah, everyone knows that one, yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows that one. The god of the wind. I think he's just like interesting because like there's a couple of different legends about him. That I don't remember offhand, but there have been a couple where I think he had ended up having to kill his only son or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it will resurface if I win next episode or something. But yeah, there's like some like really weird myths involving him and his child. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Interesting.
But I'm gonna move on to your number 9. And
Okay.
for your number 9, I actually put Hades.
That is incorrect. So for my number 9, I had Athena.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Athena, just because she was kind of a badass goddess, from what I recall. Again, I don't know a ton about mythology, but I know that she was kind of like a protector person. God, not person, but you know what I mean. And I don't know, she's stuck in my head. I don't really know a ton of the myths surrounding her. But I remember thinking she was cool back in the day when I was researching this stuff.
So, Athena, Greek goddess of wisdom. She has a flaw with her, where she thinks she's like better than everybody, which is pretty interesting.
Hey, was she the one that put Zeus in his place or something once? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
She has.
Yeah.
She has before. So Athena is very special. Athena is one of the goddesses that Zeus holds very affectionately in his heart because that is his daughter. But she was not born of Hera. She was born purely of Zeus's thoughts. Zeus created her. She was completely his own creation. So he ended up like really appreciating her, like loving her more than any of the other ones, like any of its other children. So she does get away with like a lot of stuff. What I find interesting is there's actually a legend with Athena, and it's probably like one of my more known legends. But Helen of Troy and I forget the guy's name. I don't remember the guy's name, but it was like all revolving around. Yeah, Troy of Helen. It was all revolving around Helen of Troy. Um, One day during this party celebrating Helen and I can't remember her original husband's name. They were at the wedding, and the guy from Troy came and was attending this wedding. Well, he seen Helena of Troy, and he fell in love with her. But because she was already married, there was nothing that he could do. Well, one day he gets this like golden apple given to him by the goddess of chaos, whose name escapes me. And she said to present it as a gift to either Aphrodite or to Athena. Well, Athena promised him all the wisdom in the world, and helped him to win any war that he would want. Aphrodite promised him any love that he would want, regardless of who it is. Of course, falling in love with Helena, he chose to give the apple to Aphrodite, which pissed off Athena. And so she decided to join forces with Helena's ex-husband kind of guy, to destroy Troy and to capture Helena back. And basically, because she wasn't chosen, she went into this like really vengeful, jealous rage, and this whole big war broke out. I thought it was pretty cool, just because of one choice and trying to like force somebody else to love you. Your whole kingdom was destroyed. And there was like a lot of myths and legends that came out of that one story too, like the what do they call it? The Trojan horse. That whole myth was also sparked during that war. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Very vengeful. But yeah, she's a pretty cool Greek goddess, in my opinion.
I just thought she was cool because she was kind of, I don't know, I just remembered her being cool. That was, I really had to get this list.
Cool because she is.
I had to get this list to 10.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I just figured I'll share like a little bit of like if I know something about them, I'll like just share something.
No, yeah, that is plenty cool. Like I said last week, this is a learning experience for the rest of us that don't really know much about this. I know at least like for my number 8, like I'm not super confident on, but like 7 and above, I at least have a specific reason for liking them. 8 is sort of like halfway in the middle, but like I can tell you exactly why I like my number 7 and up, as opposed to giving the vague answers like I have for these first couple. But anyway, for me guessing your number 9, since I had guessed Artemis as your number 10, I went with Apollo for your number 9. Yes, no, maybe so.
I hate you sometimes.
Wait, was that actually right?
It was actually right.
Holy shit, I can't believe this. I just literally was like, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I said this on episode or not, but my guesses for her were basically just the easy, safe guesses, and then ones that weren't on mine. That I knew the names of. Like, there was not a lot of logic put into my list. So I had no idea or even why it would be on your top 10. I know he's the brother of Artemis, if I recall. That's literally the only thing I know is he's the brother to Artemis. I don't even know what he's the god of.
Apollo is the god of the sun.
I guess that makes sense why we went to the moon on Apollo missions.
Shut up. Oh my god.
I was gonna guess like the god of space, so I'm glad I was at least kind of close.
At least I was kind of close. He's the god of the sun. So the legend basically goes to explain how the sun rose and set each night.
I was gonna say I don't think they actually knew what space was at that point in time, so there's no way he could have been the god of space.
Yeah. So let me preface this.
Preface it.
Preference? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, preface it. Back in ancient Grecian times, they used Greek gods to explain every phenomenon. Why the grass grew, why the sun rose, why it set. So basically, Apollo was the reason that the sun rose and set each night. He had a chariot in which he strapped the sun to, and he would ride it across the sky, dragging the sun throughout the sky for the 12 hours or how many ever hours the sun's usually up. And he would just drag the sun, and he would do that repetitively every single day. And if anyone were to shoot Apollo down, the sun would fall, and there would be no more sun. But I thought that was pretty cool. Part of me likes the fact that he's the god of the sun. I like his name, obviously.
Yeah,
Apollo.
his name's cool.
It's really cool.
Rocky's a good movie.
Yeah, his name's pretty cool. But he's not just the god of the sun, though. He's also the god of music, and he's also the god of poetry as well.
The music one would have me hooked. I love music.
There's a couple of different, like...
Excuse me.
Some of these gods and goddesses have, like, 6 or 7 different things that they're the goddess or god of. Apollo has, I believe, 6-ish things. He's also the god of, oh my god, forgot the name of it. Oh, he's the god of the Oracle. So he's the god of the Oracle. He basically created Delphine, the Oracle. And then he's also the god of a couple of other things that I don't remember offhand. But his main ones that I enjoyed were he's the god of the sun, the god of music, and the god of poetry.
There's only one.
That's pretty cool.
There's only one entry on my list that I know multiple things they're the god of, and that's because they're kind of related. But we'll get there when we get there.
Okay. Alright. Okay, so for your number 8, I put Aries. I think Aries would be on your list.
That's neither here nor there, because Aries is not in my number 8 spot. My number 8 is Atlas. Atlas is mostly known for holding the heavens, technically, on his back, I think. If I recall, it was his punishment whenever he, I'm trying to remember. I think didn't he lose a war against punishment? Zeus? He fought a war with the Titans against Zeus.
Here's the thing. I don't know if I would consider that one to be one. Atlas is technically a Titan, not a god.
I only remembered this because I wanted to make sure I knew which ones were Greek and Roman, and he was classified as a Titan god. Is what they listed him as on some website I've never heard of, so I guess I don't know if it's credible.
I mean, okay,
but he's the only one that would be a Titan on my list, if that means anything.
Yeah, that's fine then. So basically, Atlas has 2 other brothers.
I honestly didn't even know he was a Titan,
Atlas,
or at least forgot he was until I looked it up because I wanted to make sure he was Greek.
Atlas, Prometheus, and I forget their younger brother's name. Atlas is tasked with holding up the earth or heavens for all eternity as punishment for
I thought it was losing the war against Zeus.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Basically the whole Titan War. Prometheus, Atlas, and their younger brother actually helped Zeus during the war, which is kind of fucked up that, he's being punished for the whole war because he's a Titan. That's the only reason he was punished. So Atlas has to hold up the world.
I also like the statue of him holding up the world. That's the main reason he popped into my head.
Prometheus is strapped to a rock for all eternity, and his organs get plucked out by a giant vulture every day, and they regrow slowly back until the next night when they're plucked again. And he was actually punished not for the Titan War, which was pretty interesting because, why punish one brother for the war and not the other? He was punished because he stole fire from the Great Forge and gave it to us mortals. So that was pretty interesting.
Right.
And then the final Titan brother, I forget what his name is, but I forget what his punishment was. But he was punished because Zeus didn't like him, because obviously he's a Titan. He doesn't like any of the Titans. So he basically handed him a box and told him that he's not allowed to open it. But this brother was so dumb and so gullible that Zeus knew he would open it, and that's the whole reason he gave him the box. He opened the box, and all the sins of the world came out. And hope was the only thing left in the box. So, because he opened Pandora's box, he was punished, and I don't remember what his punishment was. I just know he was punished for that. But yes, Atlas has 2 other brothers, and they're all 3 Titans.
I also randomly, I presume demigods don't count, right, for this list? Or do they?
If you have a demigod on there, then you can.
I don't have one, but I wanted to. I considered doing it, but then I was like, I don't think demigods count, so I'm gonna go with just gods and goddesses.
Yeah, I wouldn't count demigods.
I didn't think so, but I figured I'd clarify just in case people were thinking they did. Anyway, for my guess for your number 8, I had Hades.
Incorrect.
Okay, for your hesitation there, got me thinking I was about to have 6 fucking points.
I was looking at my list to make sure, and I was like, hold on a minute.
I was gonna be like, damn, this is accidentally the best I've ever done.
There's so many words written on here, because I have not only the name of the god that I'm looking at, but I also have what there's a god of. So it took me a second to find the name and the number. No, so number 8 is actually a god called Cronus. Not to be mistaken for Kronos.
I was about to say, Kronos? I thought Kronos was a Titan.
Kronos is a Titan, but Cronus is actually the god of time.
Makes sense.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, so basically based off his name and just based off what he's the god off of, I put him down. Has nothing to do with his legends or anything. I honestly don't know anything about his legends. So, yes, there's that one for you. Let's see.
By the way, I only know Kronos is a Titan because of Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
That is the only reason I remember that part. He's the only Titan I remember the name of, except apparently Atlas, who I forgot was a Titan. I was only Googling him to figure out if he was a Greek god or Roman. But yeah, Kronos is the only Titan I actually remember the name of, and that's because of those books.
So, it's actually really funny you say that, because for your number 7, I actually put his son, so Zeus would be your number 7. Jesse?
Yeah, that's actually right. Zeus is my number 7. I can't believe you went from not being able to get my numbers to get any perfect guesses to now just 2 weeks later getting a perfect one with me just kind of just deciding to put him at number 7. It's not funny. The fact that it was just like a sort of a random one that you're starting to get right now, and that's what had me just kind of laughing. He's just number 7 because, like, he's, as I said earlier, like the quintessential Greek god. Like, if you ask someone to name a Greek god, they'll usually name Zeus first. He's kind of the quintessential god, and was one of the first ones I ever learned about. And most myths that I've heard of have had something to do with Zeus in some fashion, or somebody that he's directly related to. So that's,
I think he's directly related to pretty much every god.
yeah. So that's pretty much the primary reason, is just because him being the kind of quintessential god puts him there. Yeah, that's the only reason. But
That's funny.
while we're on the subject of very famous gods, for your number 7, I had Poseidon.
Incorrect.
Also, we're tied 3-3, by the
So-
way. Just for a score update.
I know. I'm hoping it stays that way.
Yeah, I'm hoping it is too.
For my number 7 is Cryos. Cryos is actually the god of the constellations and the measure of the year. So I thought that sounded pretty interesting. Also, I really love the constellations. I've always had like a fascination with constellations. I always like to look at the stars. So the fact that there's actually a god who is in charge of the constellations was pretty interesting. Even in Greek mythology, you'll see like a few myths where it revolves around like punishments. Hera got mad one day and turned a set of twins into the Gemini constellations as a punishment. Persephone, I believe, turned a bull into a constellation, which was pretty interesting. So I think it's just like really cool how like the constellations are tied in with like Greek mythology.
Yeah, I mean, that's
But yes.
pretty neat.
So let's see.
Also, randomly, real quick, you say you hope it stays tied. I'd be shocked if you got my number 1 wrong. I feel like my number one's
your one wrong.
I feel like my number 1's a pretty easy guess for those who know me, but maybe I'm, I don't know, maybe not. But I hope it stays tied.
I don't think it's gonna stay tied now that you say that, because I think I did get something right on there. Not that, but probably something else. I did get this one right. I know I got this one right because you've already mentioned it. So I'm hoping you get another point. No,
Okay.
my number 6 for you was Hera, because you know you have Zeus, you have to have Hera.
Yeah,
You did say Hera was your number 10, right?
that is correct. But you gained not just 1, but 2 points, because my number 6 was Ares.
No.
So it is now 3-5.
Jesse.
Ares is the god of war, which is fucking awesome. And war is awful, but this is mythology. It's not, it's mythology, not real. In which case, it's fucking awesome. Like, I don't know, he was just, I don't know, cool. Especially when you're a kid looking at him, the one that has all the coolest weapons in the world is the coolest one. So that was the primary reason. Ares was, when I started making the list, I actually originally had him at number 2, but then I kept thinking about it harder and other ones got put in front of him. Because as a kid, he was my second favorite, but as I grow older, there's a few more that work their way up in there, I guess. We'll see if I catch back up at all. But
I hope you do.
I hope so, because I really want to get a fucking tie already. I want to start the project we have planned for when we get a tie. When we get a draw.
I know. We've been teasing this like whole
For-
plan and everything.
For over half of
And
the
I feel like
fucking
everybody-
series at this point.
I know. Everybody's probably like, man, what do they have planned? I know. I feel you guys. So yes. Interestingly enough.
For your number 6, my guess for your number 6, I don't remember what this person's the god of. I just remember the name. For your number 6, I had Hermes.
No, it's not Hermes. No. Jesse, come on.
You sound very
We're trying to
defeated.
tie
Like,
it up here.
yeah. It's not like I knew what you were gonna guess for me.
It's no, my number 6 is Dionysus.
Why did I not
Dionysus
put that
is-
for you? Holy shit.
You shut up. Dionysus is the god of the grape harvest, winemaking, and theater. He's also the god of orgies and other things, but that's not why I like him, so I didn't put that down. But yes, he has many titles.
Yeah.
So I like Dionysus. He was also, if you have not read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, he was also really sassy in that book, so I really just kind of
Yeah.
like him more just because of that book.
Yeah.
I just really like his sassy attitude.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the voice crack today. Maybe I just hit puberty 10 years later than everybody else.
Oh my god, Jesse. What number are we on for you? 5.
You're guessing my number
right?
5.
I also put Cronus on there for you because I thought you would like the god of time as well.
I probably would if I knew who that was when I was making the list. But no.
I'm gonna be honest, that one was just kind of a throwaway because I needed
Yeah.
one more and I couldn't think of anyone.
Yeah, that's what
Like
half
even
of...
Athena even escaped my mind. I'm like, oh, come on now, that was so
like,
easy. I should have known that.
There's like for yours, I assembled a list and threw some in the middle of it that like I just remembered the name of but didn't remember what they were. So that's just what Hermes was. But no, my number 5 was Persephone, because of the story of her with Hades and the whole being kept down there thing. Was one of the few myths I remember being taught in school, and me remembering me being actively taught that, and the whole Queen of the Underworld thing is just cool. That's the primary, but yeah, the
Yes.
primary reason is that story. I don't remember all the details of
still
it, but I
remember
remember
I was
liking it a lot.
gonna say. So basically, if I remember this correctly, and by all means, I do implore everybody to look it up. Basically, from what I remember, one day, Demeter and Persephone were tending to a garden or a field of flowers or something like that. And Hades had seen Persephone. Well, he lowered her down into the underworld and offered her a pomegranate, of which she ate 6 pomegranate seeds. Because she ate the 6 seeds, she was forced to stay in the underworld for half the year. At which point in time, once that half the year was up, she was allowed to return to Olympus to be with her mother Demeter. The only reason that part came true was because Demeter was so upset that Hades had kidnapped Persephone that Zeus told her there's nothing that he could do except for allow her to come back up to Olympus for 6 months since she only ate the 6 seeds. So that whole story like stems onto why Demeter, basically why we have winter and fall, was because in fall and in winter, that is when Persephone has to stay down in the underworld. So Demeter gets so upset that she decides to lay waste to the land through those months. And when Persephone is allowed to come home, she basically rejuvenates everything and she becomes happy and everything starts growing again, which is why we have spring and summer. I thought that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. Though it is still, as it sits right now, 3 to 5. Moving on from that, my number 5 guess for you was Aries.
Incorrect. No, my number 5 was Hades.
Hey, I guess Hades earlier. So
You did guess Hades.
that was
Earlier.
my guess for
So you
number
did
8.
get
So I
the
got
1
up 1 point. It's 4-5 now. I'm closing
4
the
to
gap
5.
before you make it wider, because I'm sure
So-
you're earning more points.
Yeah. Hades is my favorite god. Not only because he is the god of the dead, he's also the god of riches, which a lot of people don't know.
He's your
Which, if you think about it,
Sorry, he's your favorite,
he's
but you
one of my
picked 4
favorite
people in front of him.
he's one of my favorites. Yes, it's like the top 5 are my like absolute favorites. Anyway, no, he is the god of riches. A lot of people don't know that, but if you think about it, it makes sense because what do people need to do to go into the underworld in the Grecian times? They have to put either well, depending on what period you're looking at, because there was 2 different things that they did. In the very early days, they had to put a coin underneath their tongue, and bury their dead. And if they did not, they weren't allowed to like get on the boat to go.
Yeah,
to the
pay the
underworld.
ferryman to cross the river Styx or whatever.
Yeah. And then later on, when Rome was kind of taking over, and the Greek myths were kind of starting to lose favor, they switched up a coin underneath the tongue for 2 coins over the eyes.
So that's
But
what I
either
remembered
way,
was
the
the
point
coins over the
is-
eyes. But I wasn't
Yeah,
gonna argue because I was like, I'm probably wrong.
Well, the coin underneath the tongue was like very, very, very early, early times, like way before
Gotcha.
God started losing favor. But if you think about it, yes, a lot of money obviously has to be going down to the underworld because of that. So it makes sense that Hades is also the god of riches. I also just like that story about not only Persephone, but there's another story that involves Hades, where Hades is supposed to be like this really hateful guy, doesn't really care about anyone except for Persephone, very vengeful type of person, self-centered, just like everything that you don't want to see in like a guy, obviously. Makes sense for a god of the underworld, of the dead. But there was one instance where I want to say that his name is Orpheus. His wife was killed by a satyr. And so he traveled down to the underworld playing his lyre for all to hear. And the song that he played was something that he wrote for his wife that he loved so much and missed so dearly that anyone who had heard it let him pass. So when he got to Chiron let him onto the ferry and ferried him into the underworld without payment. When he met Cerberus, he played the lyre, played the song. Cerberus calmed down and laid down, let him pass, and finally he met up with Hades and Persephone, and he played the song for Hades, and Hades felt such strong emotions that he told Orpheus that he would allow his wife to go with him. This is the only time that he would ever allow somebody to leave the underworld. However, there was one condition, and that condition was that if Orpheus was so madly in love with his wife and trusted his wife so wholeheartedly that he would have to leave the underworld trusting that she is following behind him, and he must never look back to see if she's there. For if he does, she will immediately be sucked back down into the underworld. Well, he went all the way back until he got to almost towards the very end of the entrance. And each step that he took towards the entrance, the doubt grew and grew and grew in his soul, until right before he reached the entrance, it got the better of him. He looked back, saw his wife's face, and saw her get dragged back into the underworld. And I thought that was just such a crazy story.
Yeah, that's just fucking crazy.
That it is such a crazy story.
That sounds like a really good short horror film.
Yes, I would love to see like someone who likes to draw and animate to make that into like either like I don't even care if it's animated like a horror. I would like to see a slasher film or something like that.
That sounds like.
But yes, that legend was. It was a pretty interesting story, and I felt so bad for Orpheus. because he obviously he didn't do anything wrong. Well, I mean, until the very end, but like, he just lost his wife because a satyr. For those who don't know, satyrs are very aggressive towards females.
They've seen Hercules. They're familiar.
If you get my drift. So she refused him basically, and he chased her, and she ended up falling into a pit of snakes. So I mean, it was just like a kind of a freak thing. A satyr just happened to come out of the woods and ended up killing her, and all he did was try to get her back. So I thought that was pretty interesting story involving Hades, because Hades is not known to be kind or anything like that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, I found this kind of funny, but I put for your number 4 Hermes.
All right. Well, on the right side, that is incorrect. So the gap does not grow yet. My number 4 pick was Dionysus. I don't think you said that for me yet. I think you may.
I have not.
No. I know you said on your list. I did not know he was the god of orgies, so I guess extra bonus points for Dionysus.
Extra bonus points for Dionysus. Let's go.
But no, and I didn't know all the other things. I just do primarily god of wine and possibly grapes by extension. But he created the thing that gets me through the day. Let's go. He gets number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the quite simply just because he's the god of wine, reason. And I absolutely love wine. So that's literally the only reason.
You actually like wine?
Oh yeah, I fucking love wine.
I can't stand wine.
Specifically red wine. Yeah,
that's the one I most hate.
No, I love it. I love wine.
Okay, let me preference this and say I don't hate wine. I've only tried one wine, and it was so fucking bitter. I couldn't stand it.
So you'd probably like white wine. I know Shelby doesn't like red wine because it's bitter. White wine tastes more like grape juice.
Well, I've heard that there's some red wine that's like made with berries and like obviously all wine's made with berries, but like specifically it's like a lot sweeter berries.
There probably is. There's also like pink wines, which are like nice in the middle between white and red. That Shelby can also drink, but she doesn't do red. Like she'll have a sip of mine, but she can't do red wine. She just doesn't like it. She doesn't like the bitterness. Like white wine is white wine is super sweet. So.
Yeah, I'll have to try it. I'll have to try it next time we have a drinking day. Well, you know what?
You'd say if we
better yet.
Yeah.
First time we tie, it's gonna be a wine night.
I'd be totally down for that.
I'm it now. First time we tie, it's gonna be a wine night.
That'd be cool. But I guess moving on from the wine, my number 4 pick for you was Zeus.
Incorrect.
Just because I thought he had to be on the list somewhere.
Incorrect on this one. No, my number 4 is Hephaestus.
I know that name. I don't remember what he is, but I know that name.
He is. Hephaestus is the god of fire, masonry, and forges. He is the one that creates all the weapons in Olympus and helped create Zeus's master lightning bolt. He is also the husband of Aphrodite. I find it interesting because like every story surrounding Hephaestus is laced with like malice. The gods do not like Hephaestus. They absolutely hate him, including his own wife. They think he's malformed. They don't appreciate any of the services that he does for them for free. Basically, Zeus kind of locked him up in a cave where he's kind of forced to work. So he's like a very underrated god. But he's
Sorry, are we
pretty
talking
cool.
about Asbestos or Hunchback of Notre Dame? I'm confused. See, that's where my mind went through that whole plot. I could just see him sitting in in there going, out there.
He really could. He really could. Honestly, if we're gonna talk about that, I feel like Hunchback of Notre Dame could have totally been based off of Hephaestus.
That's exactly what I thought of through that whole story. Was him being ugly, so he gets locked away from the rest of the world, where he just works and doesn't get to do or see anybody.
What I believe, and I can be totally wrong on this, so we could totally look this up. It's fine. If I remember correctly, the reason Hephaestus is so malformed is because Hera got jealous of Zeus when he created Athena from his thoughts, that she said she could do the same thing, and out came Hephaestus.
I'll just take your word for it.
Oh.
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't 100% remember. Now, I could be completely wrong on that, but I believe that's why Hephaestus is malformed. Was because it was born of Hera's thought, and Hera's thought wasn't either not strong enough or it was impure and like just full of rage and jealousy, that Hephaestus came out the way he was. But according to myths and everything, he's like a really sweet guy. So
I
yeah,
presume
basically
so.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It'd really suck if he was actually turned out to be a total asshole at the same time too. It'd be one of those where it's like, why do you even bother reading about this dude? He's an ugly bastard that's mean to everybody. Nobody wants him around, and he doesn't do anything.
True.
But yeah,
Oh
that's neat. Now I want to watch Hunchback of Notre Dame again.
Same.
Well, very underappreciated movie.
It is a very underappreciated movie. But yes, so that was my number 4. For your number 3, I actually find this absolutely hilarious. To counteract my number 4, your number 3 is Aphrodite. Please tell me I got that wrong.
And I hate to say it, but no, you got it perfectly right.
No! Didn't want this to happen!
You went from finally getting your first perfect guess ever to just coincidentally randomly getting 2 in one episode. I don't think that's ever happened before. For either of us.
I don't think so.
For Aphrodite, it's a pretty...
No.
Aphrodite, it's a pretty darn simple reason. She's the goddess of love, sex, and beauty. So, I mean, like, what's not to love out of that combination? So,
you know, that's exactly the reason I put it on there. Right there, specifically. Jesse's a guy, right? Yeah, that sounds about right. That was legitimately my whole logic.
I actually wondered if that was the case. If you were gonna put her up high on there for that reason. Yeah, it's pretty darn simple. That's literally the only reason. So I guess on to my guess for your number 3, which I know is wrong because I didn't know, or at least I didn't remember that they were a Titan apparently. But for your number 3, I put Prometheus. Here's one of those ones that I just remembered the name. It's just like, I think that's a god, and wrote it on the list.
Yep. Prometheus is incorrect. Actually, you do get a point for this because it is Hermes. Which is why I didn't want to tell you what Hermes was the god of. Hermes is actually an interesting character. Hermes is the god of trade, thieves, travelers, and the messenger of the gods. So he has those sandals with like the little wings on them.
Oh yeah, that's what I know Hermes from. Is the sandals with the wings on them. I don't remember his power. I remember his fucking shoes.
sneaks into the underworld constantly.
Also a
Basically,
Percy Jackson
he
thing.
delivers message. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
also a Percy Jackson thing. I just dropped my pencil. Anyway, sorry. I find it interesting that Hermes is also, because I knew he was the god of trades and the god of travelers, and safe passage and all that, and messenger god. Because I mean, it all just ties hand in hand. But the fact that he's also the god of thieves and thievery, is pretty cool. It makes sense because, you know, trade, travel, and like constantly going place to place, you would think somebody would be slightly tempted. So I thought that was pretty interesting that he is actually god of thieves. So yes, that would be my number 3. So
Just gotta get one more perfect guess out of these last 2. Every time.
No, for your number 2, I did put Dionysus.
So you got a point there. And to make it worse, you got another point because my number 2 is Hades.
I didn't think you would like the Hades that much.
Oh, Hades is awesome. Here's another one where it's like, again, if he actually existed, obviously be horrible, but since it's mythology, he's fucking awesome. Like, the whole underworld shtick, essentially just an emphasis of Persephone. Also, he's involved in that story, and the story that you told reinforces his spot at number 2. He's just fucking cool. And also, you were talking about what's his face being Dionysus being sassy in Percy Jackson. We're gonna talk about a god being sassy in a movie. Hades and fucking Hercules. This has nothing to do with the reason I put it at number 2, but Hades and Hercules is one of the best Disney villains of all time. He's so entertaining.
Absolutely.
I fucking love Hades in there. But yeah, Hades is number 2 just because he's fucking cool. Like, just like, especially as I've grown to love horror, I know it's not technically the same thing, but the idea of like a god of the underworld type thing becomes a lot cooler as I get more into my love of that type of genre. So yeah, that's what put Hades up at number 2 for me. Though coincidentally, or not coincidentally, but sort of, for your number 2, this is another one that I was gonna pretend I did, but I had no idea until you said it earlier who they were. I just remembered the name. For your number 2, I had Demeter, who is apparently the mother to Persephone.
Yes,
I had no
Demeter
idea why
is
I knew the name.
Persephone.
That would be why, because I knew that story.
Demeter is the goddess of harvest and all. So basically she is worshipped a lot by farmers and things like that. No, so my number 2 is actually not Demeter though.
Dang. Well, I essentially just lost unless your number 2 is Prometheus. I still,
yeah.
I can't.
No.
I cannot
my
catch
number
up.
2 is Hypno. So Hypnos is the god of sleep. And
Hypno is a pretty cool Pokemon.
Yeah, Hypno is a cool Pokemon. No, Hypnos is the god of sleep and dreams. Obviously, I like sleeping and I like dreams, so you know what? He has to be on there.
Well, I guess with that, it comes down to whether you correctly got my number 1, because I don't think you guessed it yet.
So Jesse's number 1, and what he means by "you better know me," his number 1's Poseidon. We already know this.
Yeah, my number 1's Poseidon. 3 perfect guesses in a single episode. Jesus Christ.
You know what's funny though? I didn't even have him on the list. I didn't have him on the list until I was like, wait. Oh no, I did have him on the list. I had him as the number 5 pick, and then I looked at what I had for your number 1, which was Cronus, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, let me look at this list again. Actually, I feel like that should be number 5, and I'm gonna move number 5 to number 1. I was like, yeah. I knew that was gonna happen.
You kind of mopped the floor with me this episode. Jesus Christ, it is 13-5.
Honestly, that's insane though, because like there's so many Greek gods and goddesses. There's like
yeah, but I don't know that many.
90 or 80. But like you could have looked at a list and like picked any of them, and the fact that I got that many right, in fact, and got 3 perfect guesses right, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I knew I would at least get Poseidon right, but like
the
fact I got Zeus and Aphrodite.
For those who don't know, why Poseidon's my number 1, if you're listening to this via YouTube, look at my channel name. And for everybody else, I absolutely fucking love the ocean. The ocean is my favorite thing. This has been a whole thing with me and my wife Shelby, is I argue with her that aquariums are infinitely better than zoos. I just like, the ocean is so much more interesting to me than anything on land. Like, I wish that I had some sort of super invincible submarine that I could just go down and explore the entire ocean all the way down to the bottom without it, getting destroyed, and also being me being able to somehow afford a machine of that monstrosity. But like the ocean is just my favorite thing. Ocean, water, just the whole thing, the whole shebang is like one of my favorite things. And Pokemon, but the other thing my name comes from, I always pick the water starter every time. And Poseidon, it's simply because he's the god of the seas that is the reason he's number 1.
That's
Simple
exactly why he's number 1. Honestly, I'm really glad I changed that, but because I can't let you think I don't know you.
Yeah.
Jesse. Actually, I think I did make that mistake one day. Was it? I don't know. It was one of these episodes when we were talking about something. Anyway, the point was it was related to water, and I totally didn't guess it, and I had to make up for that. I had to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I guess we're doing favorite legends.
Yeah, I guess so. But before we do that, I gotta guess your number 1. For your number 1,
oh yeah, that's true.
For your number 1, I had Hera.
Incorrect. Hera and Zeus are not my favorite. In fact, I don't even like them. No, for my number 1, you already guessed it. It's Artemis.
Oh man.
It was a cracking up when you said Artemis is my number 10. I said, come on, Jesse. Listen, you should have known me. Artemis is the goddess of animals, Jesse.
I thought Artemis was a dude, so that shows how little I knew about Artemis.
No, Artemis is Apollo's sister.
I thought he was Artemis's brother.
No. Artemis is the goddess of animals, the goddess of the hunt, the goddess of chastity and childbirth, as well as the goddess of the moon.
You say goddess of chastity? That automatically removes from my list.
Yeah, it's automatically removed. Oh my god. No, she actually has like at least I don't know if she actually has this or if it's just like in that one book. But in the Percy Jackson series, like it makes sense that she's the goddess of chastity because she has like that whole group, the followers of Artemis or something like that. Or the Hunters of Artemis. I can't remember exactly what they're called. That Talia joined up with.
Yeah.
But their one rule was that you couldn't fall in love and you couldn't have children. So I mean, it makes sense that she's the goddess of chastity. But also, kind of doesn't make sense since she is also the goddess of childbirth.
I didn't even put those two together. If your kid ain't Jesus, it ain't worth having, I guess. If your kid ain't Jesus or Athena, then it ain't worth having, I guess.
Yeah, really? Oh my god. That's hilarious. Could you imagine? Yeah. But yes, so we'll be doing favorite Greek gods and goddesses next week.
That was this week. Our favorite myths. Was the
Oh, yeah, sorry.
favorite Greek myths. Or mythic stories, legends. This one's gonna be tough for me just because I don't know if I can even name 10, so I'm gonna have to like look at some. But
yeah, I would say just look at
the-
some, read a couple of myths.
on the bright side, at least
then,
I got
yeah.
through this episode a hint of what a couple of yours might be. So
Listen, my recommendation for you would be to look up the Odyssey. The Odyssey revolves around a lot of different myths. Look up the Odyssey, and then you can like look up individual gods and goddesses myths, and just like take notes on them. Would be my recommendation, because the Odyssey does follow one specific guy, but it touches base with like a lot of different mythological creatures, and they have their own myths around them. So it might give you a couple of ideas on what to look up.
oh. Well,
But yes,
this ended up being anything but a tie.
nowhere near
like,
it.
yeah. So the tie is still gonna be shrouded in mystery. I will say I'm gonna set a goal deadline. Not a deadline. Like we're not gonna reveal if it didn't happen by then, but I'm gonna set a goal. For when I would like for us to get a tie by. I'm gonna shoot for. If it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. I'm not gonna just unveil it if we don't pass it. But I want to shoot for by the July 20th episode, which is the second to last episode of July.
July 20th. That's the day after my mom's birthday. That's interesting.
That is because that is the last episode we're gonna have before I leave for my honeymoon, and it'd be cool to just have that off my chest before we leave for there. To at least have like the announcement for that before we leave then, just because like I don't know, I've been thinking about that a lot, and I could at least have like I don't know, because I'm also partially worried about like us keeping up with episodes whenever I leave for that, and it is only for a week, but it's like worst case scenario we just miss 1 week. But
Right.
I want to set a deadline for then, since that's kind of when my next major life event is happening, and it'd be cool to have a tie before then.
Yes.
So, and like I still can't believe that we finally like came up with an idea for what we're gonna do for ties, and then we stopped having them after we kept getting ties half the time. But oh well. That's gonna be all for this episode. So, thank you everybody for watching or listening, depending on what platform you're doing this on. I think that was a much smoother save than I usually go with.
Well,
Whenever
it
I mess
was
that
until you
up.
pointed it out.
Um,
It was until you pointed it out. I honestly didn't realize you messed up until you pointed it out.
Thank you for watching / listening. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a positive rating. It helps us out a lot. Share with people you think would enjoy it. I'm AquaLeaderJesse on YouTube. She is Fairy Fox Gaming on Twitch. And, oh, you sent me that thing, speaking of your Twitch. Oh, that is pretty cool.
My Twitch is-
And thank you guys again for listening. Catch you guys next week with our favorite Greek myths. It is just Greek, right? Specifically Greek?
Yes, specifically Greek, because we might touch on some of the other ones later. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, thank you. One last time, thank you guys for listening. Catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.